Alright guys, I know a lot of you have been waiting for this video on all the endgame legendary weapons and outfits, so today we're going to take a look at all of them, and I'll show you my personal endgame build as well as some variations on it. Now I do just want to say up front that of course there's no single perfect endgame loadout. The legendary items you choose to use really depend on your personal playstyle and the specific situation you're in. For example, you'll probably want to change your loadout a bit based on whether you're fighting rebels or hunting machines. But also, the legendaries aren't necessarily always the best weapons in every situation. There's actually some purple weapons that offer ammo types that none of the legendaries do, and you'll likely want to use some of those for certain situations, so we'll discuss some endgame purple weapons too. As you can imagine, we've got a lot of gear to cover, so let's get started. Let's start with your outfit. We have 6 legendary outfits to choose from, and the biggest differences between them are the skill perks and special modification weaves they give you. The melee and impact resistance is mostly the same across all outfits, so you don't need to worry about that too much. The outfits do vary in their elemental resistances, which are worth paying a little more attention to, but I wouldn't worry about those too much either. Again, the most important differences are the skill perks, and by the way, if you don't like how a particular outfit looks, remember you can dye it and also toggle on and off the headpiece with the show headpiece setting to customize the look a little bit. Now if you guys have seen my mid and late game gear videos, then you can probably guess my top legendary outfit choice is the Nora Thunder Warrior, which you can purchase at the arena for 54 medals. My philosophy with my loadout is to choose an outfit and weapons that are as versatile as possible so I can be ready for any situation. I feel the Nora Thunder helps me do that because it boosts skills and mechanics that I think most players use basically all the time. In particular, the perks for concentration and stamina are helpful in pretty much every fight, but I also like having the Stealth Range Plus perk to boost my opening shots, and Heavy Weapon Plus gives us a little bit better mobility when using a Boltblaster or machine weapons. The unlockable weaves on this outfit are also really nice, +2 for both the Weapon Stamina Plus and Valor Surge Master skills, which means you'll have more stamina and can generate Valor more quickly. It's also pretty nice that this outfit has the best impact resistance to help protect you from ranged attacks. The only downside to the Nora Thunder is that it's weak to Frost and Plasma, which can be problematic with machines like Frost Claws and Slaughter Spines, but you can always clear an elemental status effect by simply drinking a cleansing potion. Now my runner-up outfit is the Tenakth Vanquisher, also available at the arena for 54 medals. This one requires a very specific playstyle, but it can be really powerful if you play it right. The idea is to leverage the Vanquisher's low health, ranged, and defense perks to boost Aloy's damage output significantly. With the outfit fully upgraded, the low health ranged perk will be boosted by +2, which will give you an 80% damage multiplier on ranged attacks when you're below 50% health. Now intentionally staying below 50% health sounds pretty scary, but we're actually safer than you think because the low health defense perk will reduce damage taken by 70% when we drop below 25% health. With Aloy's max HP of 700, that means low health range will work below 350 hit points and low health defense will kick in at 175. I know that's a lot of numbers to keep track of, but the point is that this outfit makes Aloy really strong when she's weak and makes it very difficult for machines to kill her. The only exceptions are fire and plasma attacks, which the outfit is weak to, so you have to be careful of those. To balance the outfit, I recommend swapping the default weaves with the Weapon Stamina Plus weave from the Nora Thunder Warrior and the Stamina Regen weave from the Utaru Gravesinger, which you can buy in Legacy's Landfall. Shout out to JG6 over on Discord for figuring out a lot of the details for this build. Also thanks to Sunny for pointing out that a similar build can be done with the purple Tenakth Skirmisher outfit, which you can buy in Scalding Spear. If you want to recreate this low health, high damage playstyle on another outfit, you can take the low health defense weave from the Tenakth Marauder, found in Thornmarsh, and the low health ranged weave from the Nora Valiant, found near the base, and put them on whatever outfit you'd like. If you're swapping weaves, keep in mind that you can hover over a skill that a weave boosts to see if you've maxed it out. So to recap, the Nora Thunder Warrior and Tenakth Vanquisher are my top 2 legendary outfits because they can be made very versatile. The other 4 outfits are much more tailored to specific playstyles. For example, if you're a hardcore stealth player, then you'll want the Utaru Winter Weave found in Thornmarsh. If you like the Machine Master playstyle, then the Tenakth Tactician, also found in Thornmarsh, is the obvious choice. Those of you who like melee combat and warrior bows should consider the Oseram Artificer, which you can get by completing all 17 salvage contracts. And finally, the ultimate trapper outfit is definitely the Carja Stalker Elite found at the arena. Okay, let's move on to weapons. Again, my goal here is to create a loadout that's highly versatile. That means we need weapons for applying elemental effects, tearing off components, and dealing direct damage. The Deathseeker's Shadow, found at the arena for 80 medals, is the best endgame hunter bow for dealing damage and tearing off machine components. It also has the best shock arrows in the game, so I think pretty much everyone should have this bow in their endgame loadout. I like to coil my Deathseeker with 2 agility damage coils, 2 tear or component tear coils, and a shock coil. The agility coils can be purchased at the bulwark, and boost both damage and tear when jumping or sliding. I really like these because they aren't situational like long range or high ground damage coils. I can give myself a damage and tear boost at any time by simply jumping or sliding. I like component tear coils because they're 25% instead of the normal tear coils 12%. To me, that's particularly useful because I often use advanced hunter arrows to remove components. Unfortunately, you can't buy the purple version of these anywhere. You have to loot them from machine kills, but you can buy a blue 15% version in Hidden Ember. The regular tear coils can be purchased in Arrowhand, and the shock coil is in Legacy's Landfall. Up next, we have another easy to recommend legendary, the Sun Scourge. This is a purely elemental hunter bow with frost, acid, and fire arrows. To get the Sun Scourge, you need to clear all 5 normal rebel camps and then speak with Aaron to reveal the 6th. Once you've done all 6, you'll be able to loot the Sun Scourge from the camp leader's body. The Sun Scourge is hands down the best frost, acid, and fire bow in the game, with frost being particularly useful. I like to mod mine with 3 15% frost and 2 instant brittle chance coils, 1 legendary 3% and a purple 2%. Combined with the bow's 4% instant brittle perk, these bring the total chance for an instant up to 9%. I feel this is the best balance between always having a reliable amount of frost buildup and having a good chance of getting that satisfying instant freeze. The regular 15% frost coils are sold in Scalding Spear and Hidden Ember. The legendary instant is sold at the arena for 16 medals, and the purple instants are sold in Thornmarsh. So of course, we need a Sharpshot Bow, but the choice here is less clear. I would argue the legendary Forgefall, sold for 80 medals at the arena, isn't necessarily the best one all the time. I have 3 Sharpshot Bows to recommend for you guys depending on the situation. The Forgefall is probably the best overall because it has 5 coil modification slots and perks as opposed to 3 on purple bows. However, its advanced precision arrows actually aren't the strongest ones in the game, which we'll talk about in a second. Of course, with 5 mod slots on the Forgefall, you can compensate for this fairly easily, but it also for some reason has both regular and advanced plasma arrows taking up 2 of its ammo slots. Personally, playing on very hard, I don't find plasma very useful. It can be handy for downing flying machines, but other than that, I pretty much never use it. Even if you do like plasma though, I see no reason why the Forgefall needs both regular and advanced. It would have been really cool to have Tear Blast or Strike Through precision arrows on there instead. Speaking of Strike Through arrows, another endgame Sharpshot Bow to consider is Regalla's Wrath, which you can only get by choosing a certain flashpoint option during one of the final main quests. Without revealing too much, you basically need to pick the harsher option when you deal with Regalla. If you pick the nicer option, you'll get her armor instead, which isn't nearly as useful. Regalla's Wrath actually has the highest base damage of any Sharpshot Bow, even more than the Forgefall at 251. But more importantly, it's the best bow for strike-through precision arrows. These arrows can pierce armor and helmets to deal damage to the target underneath, which is extremely useful for dealing with rebels and other human enemies. I think the Forgefall is ultimately more powerful because you can put 5 coils on it, but I always keep Regalla's Wrath in my inventory to use for specific situations like dealing with rebels. The last endgame Sharpshot Bow I'd recommend is the Glowblast, which you can purchase in Thornmarsh. This was my top pick for a Sharpshot Bow in my late game gear video, but it's still really useful for certain endgame situations because it's the best bow for tear precision arrows. Now most of the time I use the Deathseeker's advanced hunter arrows to tear off machine components since they're cheaper and still highly effective, but there are a few machines that I bring out the Glowblast to hunt. I find it particularly useful for harvesting Dreadwing Metal Fangs and Scorcher Scanning Ears because they're so small and hard to hit. I also use it for Stormbird Storm Cannons. So overall, I use the Forgefall most of the time and then switch it out for either Regalla's Wrath or the Glowblast in specific situations. As for coiling a Sharpshot Bow, I think most people want to maximize damage, and the best way I've found to do this is to use 3 15% critical hit chance coils, bringing the critical hit chance total to 45%. Then, if you activate the critical boost Valor Surge, you'll add another 55% critical hit chance, giving you a 100% total for a guaranteed critical hit every time. The 15% critical hit chance coils can be found in Arrowhand. On the Forgefall, you'll still have another 2 slots available, and I'd recommend loading these with coils to boost damage further, like 25% long range or high ground damage coils from Thornmarsh. Alternatively, you could just add more crit chance coils if you don't want to use the critical boost Valor Surge. If you like ripping off components with precision arrows, then you should definitely consider a couple 100% Sharpshot tear damage coils found in Scalding Spear for some truly insane tear damage. Okay, so I think the next type of weapon everyone should have in their loadout is a Boltblaster. The Blast Forge, which you can pick up at the arena for 80 medals, is the clear choice here. Now, if you haven't considered using a Boltblaster, I'd highly recommend you check them out. With machines being more challenging than in Zero Dawn, especially on higher difficulty levels, it's really helpful to have a weapon with fast damage output to knock down a machine's health quickly. And that's exactly what Boltblasters specialize in. You can use a Boltblaster normally by shooting short bursts, but the most effective way to use them is with the Sustained Burst weapon technique, which uses stamina to let you unload your entire clip in one continuous shot. Combine this technique with first freezing a machine, and you'll be dealing some devastating damage. The Blast Forge has some really nice perks too, with a whopping 65% draw speed boost and 25% reload speed boost, as well as 15% boost for critical hit chance and overdraw damage, and a 4% instant shock chance at level 5. I like to put at least one 25% draw speed coil and a 25% reload speed coil on my Blast Forge to make it even faster to draw and reload mid-fight. I also like to load it up with 3 impact damage coils to maximize its damage output. Another weapon I think a lot of players overlook are Shredder Gauntlets, and this is totally understandable. Shredders work very differently from any other weapon, and they're a bit tricky to get the hang of, but like Boltblasters, you really don't want to sleep on Shredder Gauntlets. They're really nice for the endgame because their ammo is so resource efficient. If you can get the hang of catching them, the Shredders can be thrown 3 times to deal damage or build up an elemental effect without ever using them up. On the 4th throw, they'll explode dealing extra damage, but if you want to be super resource efficient, then you can switch weapons or ammo types after the 3rd throw and start the cycle over again and never use up the Shredder. The legendary Shredder Gauntlet is the Ancestor's Return, which you can get by completing all the relic ruins. The Ancestor's Return has acid, shock, and tear shredders. These are great for building up the corroding or shock states or tearing off components, all while using very minimal resources. However, you do of course already have shock arrows on the Deathseeker and acid arrows on the Sun Scourge, so the Ancestor Return's a little bit redundant for elemental ammo. Now don't get me wrong, I really do like the Ancestor's Return and I use it a lot, but the tear shredders aren't great for dealing damage, which is something I look for in a Shredder Gauntlet. That's why I still find myself pulling out my favorite purple shredder a lot in the endgame, the Thunderbolt Shredder Gauntlet. I like the Thunderbolt because it has piercing shredders, which can deal damage to a machine through its armor, similar to the strike-through arrows we discussed earlier. I find this helps knock down machines, especially Slitherfangs. I also like that the Thunderbolt has shock shredders like the Ancestor's Return, and some good advanced shredders as well. I like to coil my Shredder Gauntlets with a couple of knockdown power coils sold in Thornmarsh, to increase the likelihood that they cause a knockdown. I also like to add knockdown damage coils to boost the damage once I cause the knockdown, which are sold at the arena, damage over time coils, which are sold in Arrowhand, and shock coils sold in Legacy's Landfall. Okay, I know a lot of you guys like spike throwers, so the legendary for you is going to be the Skykiller, which you can get by completing the Way Home side quest in Legacy's Landfall. Now, like the Forgefall Sharpshot Bow, this is another one that's a little bit odd because it actually doesn't have the highest base damage stats. The Vindicator, a purple spike thrower, actually has higher base damage on its advanced explosive spikes. Of course, the Skykiller can be stronger overall because it has 5 perks and coil slots as opposed to the Vindicator's 3. But I think it's worth realizing that you're going to have to upgrade the Skykiller pretty much all the way before it can outclass the Vindicator. And personally, I actually still prefer the Vindicator most of the time because I like using drill spikes, which aren't available on the Skykiller. That being said, if you're looking for damage output from a spike thrower, then you can't beat a fully maxed out Skykiller combined with the splitting spike weapon technique. But if you're interested in the Vindicator, you can get it by completing the Rain Trace salvage contracts. For coiling a spike thrower, I think most people will want to load it up with explosive damage coils, the purple versions of which can be bought from the regular hunter merchant at the arena. There's also blue versions available in Thornmarsh. But if you're like me and you like drill spikes, then you'll want to consider the damage over time and tear damage coils sold in Arrowhand. Component tear coils can be great for drill spikes too, but remember the purple versions only come from hunting machines. You can buy blue ones in Hidden Ember. Now let's talk about Blastslings. The Wings of the Ten, which you can get by trading in all 12 black boxes, is clearly the best sling for dealing damage with its super powerful explosive bombs and excellent set of perks for boosting damage. It also has adhesive bombs if you like using adhesive, but personally I really only find it mildly useful for slowing down fast machines like Stalkers and Ravengers. Your main use for the Wings of the Ten is definitely dealing damage with advanced explosive bombs. However, I do have another Blastsling I want to recommend, the Corrosive Blastsling. This is an elemental Blastsling that's great for building up the corroding and drench states with acid and purge water bombs. Keep in mind that none of the legendary weapons have purge water ammo. Honestly, you'll rarely need purge water with maxed out legendaries like the Sun Scourge, but it can still be useful at times. In those cases, the Corrosive Blastsling can come in handy. As for acid, you certainly have that covered with the Sun Scourge, but those advanced arrows can burn through your volatile sludge pretty quickly, so the cheaper to craft acid bombs are nice as well. Coiling the Wings of the Ten should complement its high damage stats and perks. Explosive damage coils from the arena and Thornmarsh make a lot of sense. I also think knockdown power and knockdown damage coils found in Thornmarsh and the arena are smart choices. The legendary warrior bow is the Carja's Bane, which you're rewarded with for completing all the Gauntlet races. Interestingly though, the base impact damage on its light arrows isn't as high as the Death Rattle, but it can of course be made stronger with its 5 coil slots as opposed to the Death Rattle's 3. The Carja's Bane also has some really nice perks like 25% boost for agility damage, knockdown power, and corroding enemy damage. The 40% melee follow-up perk is also great if you like the melee playstyle. I would boost that stat further by equipping melee follow-up coils available in Scalding Spear and Hidden Ember. Knockdown power and damage coils can also be useful on warrior bows along with simple impact damage coils. So the final legendary weapon is the Tinker's Pride Tripcaster, obtained by getting full stripes at all 12 hunting ground trials. Now to be honest with you guys, I personally don't use a Tripcaster with my playstyle. The Tinker's Pride is interesting though, in that its perks are mainly geared towards supporting the use of stagger beams. Stagger beams trip up a machine and deal damage over time, so if you want to use the Tinker's Pride, loading it up with damage over time coils found in Arrowhand can make the stagger beams much stronger. If you're interested in using the advanced explosive wires, then explosive damage coils from the arena would be best. Now the final weapon category, Ropecasters, doesn't actually have a legendary, but it's worth discussing quickly since a Ropecaster can certainly be helpful in the endgame. The elite Ropecaster, for sale in Thornmarsh, is clearly the best for tying down machines. Coiling it with draw and reload speed coils is smart so you can tie down a machine more quickly. It's also pretty fun to play with the elite Canister Ropecaster, which can be used to help build up elemental effects quickly. You can attach canisters to machines directly, but I find it's actually easier to set them up like traps on the ground to be triggered with a corresponding elemental arrow. Of course, you'd want to coil this one with elemental damage boosting coils. So overall, my typical endgame loadout looks like this. I pretty much always have the Deathseeker, Sun Scourge, Forgefall, and Blast Forge on my weapon wheel. The last two slots are usually occupied by the Ancestor's Return and Elite Ropecaster, but I'll swap in weapons from my inventory like Regalla's Wrath, the Glowblast Sharpshot Bow, or Thunderbolt Shredder Gauntlet if I want to use them for a specific situation. I keep the remaining legendaries in my inventory in case I want to pull them out for something fun, but they mostly just sit there looking nice and golden. Normally I have the Nora Thunder Warrior outfit equipped, but I've been playing with the Tenakth Vanquisher more lately just to change things up. Alright guys, that was my comprehensive guide for all the legendary and endgame gear. Like I mentioned at the start, the legendaries you choose to use really depend on your playstyle, but I hope this video helped you figure out which ones you're most interested in, or maybe want to go back and try out some more. I'll be doing more focus videos where we use some of the legendaries to put together ultimate builds for different playstyles like Stealth, Melee, and Machine Master, so keep an eye out for those to give you some more ideas. If you enjoyed this video or learned something new, leaving a like really does help small channels like mine out. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.